Sound is good. I've got the exposure now. Everything is good on my end. So let's talk, man. This first question is how I start all of them off. Who are you? Where are you from? And tell me a little bit about you.
My name is Jaden. You know me. I'm from the west suburbs of Chicago. I'm a filmmaker, multimedia artist. I do primarily editing and cinematography, but I'm studying at DePaul right now for my MFA in film directing. I started video editing when I was probably like 15 years old. Matter of fact, I started with photography when I was 15. I started editing when I was 16, and then I was just doing like music videos with friends, some friends that you know. Sports, highlight reels, things like that for my athlete friends around school. And I just got like quick with it, you know, like a video game. It really did become like a video game, honestly. And you know, when you're an editor, you need video to edit, right?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where that came from. Like I just started needing to shoot things in order to have things to edit. From editing to cinematography to like just kind of practicing and getting more used to the more advanced tools, you know? And then same thing with like editing and post-production tools, the same thing, just finding more advanced computers to do more advanced software. So that has been my approach like until I graduated from my undergraduate degree. And then I knew early on, like I want to be able to teach this stuff, right? In order to be able to teach this at a collegiate level or even like high schools, you need an MFA degree. And so that's what I'm studying for right now. It's like be able to, one, know how to lead a film set as a director, but then to like teach people effectively. And you know, I honestly feel like film is almost like an English class. And like that's my goal, is like just encourage people to be creative and find their voice, find what they have to say, you know, through this medium. Almost like as if they're writing an essay.
What really like encourages your desire to be a teacher, man?
Man, I had some great teachers growing up, you know, and I had some bad teachers growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's just that, like knowing how much impact that one person can have on somebody and what that role implies about like you as a leader and the people who are following you, the way they got to look up to you, like that's like more leadership actually being shown than like a president damn near, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to be a leader. I want to coach people. I want people to look up to me, and that to me is the best place to do it, you know, with people who have a passion and a drive to learn something. I could lead in other places someday with professionals, and I'm sure it'll be a great experience when that happens. But for right now, like students are the people I'm most comfortable with. Because like I'm similar in age, similar in some regards, even in experience level. You know what I mean?
I feel like we're all students at the end of the day.
Exactly. I think that's probably the biggest part of why I love students, is because students know they're students.
Absolutely.
And people who've graduated beyond being a student, they don't know they're still a student.
Yeah, because I feel once you get that title of like a graduate, whatever you graduate with, it's like, okay, I did it.
Exactly.
You know, I accomplished it.
And you don't know that you didn't really do nothing yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the real lesson comes after graduation, to be honest, because that's when you apply all the things that you learn.
Exactly.
And I think, at least in my experience, that's when I really, you know, hunkered down and sat down and been like, hey, I still am a student. You know,
Exactly.
Just because I went to college doesn't mean I know everything.
Exactly. My goal, aside from being a teacher of film, is to be a student of everything, right? And to hopefully show those film students the same thing.
I love that, man. What keeps your passion for the arts burning, man? I've been following you for years, and even when things seem to slow down, you're always very passionate. You're growing. Jaden Dueñas' style is Jaden Dueñas' style. So what keeps that passion going?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right that there's some slow times. To be honest, most of the times that it seems slow through social media is because I'm editing or writing something, right? That's kind of the pattern, is like I'm either focused on writing, or I'm focused on producing, or I'm focused on editing, right? And I think what keeps me motivated to transition between those is like the stories I'm telling. It takes so much energy and time to make something like this happen.
Absolutely.
To put in that kind of energy for something I don't care about, I'm not willing to do that.
Absolutely.
You know? So frankly, there's been things where I've had to separate myself from a project or a certain group of people or whatever it may be, because I knew this isn't the right spot for me, and me being here is not helping them either, right? I think that's what drives me, is like latching onto a story and a group of people who I know are working well together, and we know that we can get to that goal.
And when it comes to the story, what really is it about the story that, how can I say it, like is like a love for you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's so many stories to be told in the world, right? And I love all of them, right? I could go to a film festival tomorrow and watch 10 different stories, all shot in different ways, and I can appreciate all of those. I think the stories that I latch onto the most as a filmmaker, though, they are usually related to my love for teaching, right? So like films about identity, right? I think that's really what drives me to teach, is also like seeing a student find who they are, right? And so when I could watch a student or a character do that in a movie, I feel the same exact way, right? And that applies to documentary too. Like a lot of the documentaries that I've done have been about people exploring themselves and what a certain situation or circumstance means to them, right? And I think that's like the key that keeps me interested in these people and in their stories, is like, what are they invested in? What do they see in themselves and in the world around them? You know?
And have you taken time to ask yourself those questions and tell yourself your story too?
I think this is it right now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's like a necessary part of that, you know, and being able to write something like that, you have to have some kind of reflection. But frankly, like storytelling is just as much escapism as it is like, you know what I mean? As much as watching something on Netflix is escapism.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like trying to remove yourself from the world. So no, I don't really spend too much time focused on myself. If I were to write as an autobiography, it'd probably stay on the script and never leave my computer, right? So like that's kind of how I approach this. It's much easier to tell my story through another character, right?
That makes sense.
Than it is to tell my own kind of thing.
And it kind of I don't want to say it gives a shield, but it also provides like a sense of relatability, because it's not you. It's something that everybody can latch on to, because I feel like we all, not to say we all have the same story, but we have similarities. You know, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we started this, just because we're so similar. But you know, being able to build those characters out of your own story, so many people can latch on to that and be like, man, I'm dealing with the same stuff too. I relate to this person, and they don't even know that the person they're relating to is you. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's something that I observe, and I love seeing that you want to tell those stories, because we get to learn your story just as much as everybody else's.
Appreciate that.
I mean, I'm going to jump over this question and come back to it. When it comes to film and storytelling and everything else, who do you look up to?
One filmmaker that I really look up to, his name is Steve James. He was the director of Hoop Dreams in 1994. I actually had a chance to take a class with him last year at DePaul. So like I got to sit in a class for a quarter with him and just hear his stories about making these long-term documentaries, again, about people finding themselves. And so he has a really unique perspective as a filmmaker, like in that he works primarily with youth, honestly, and that he seeks these long-term stories that he has to take years at a time to tell. And like that's where I want to be. I think it's like I want the career stability to be able to do that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But like I want to be that close and that connected to the people I'm talking about, right? It's cool to like do short documentaries that take a week or a day or something like that to produce, and they really matter a lot. People receive that information well, but I think there's just something transcendent about sticking with somebody for that long period of time and really getting to know who they are. And if you can capture that on camera and show the world, like that's a story that I feel like anybody in the world could watch. Absolutely. As long as there's a subtitle to tell them what they're saying, you can watch that anywhere in the world.
I think that's really like the pinnacle of teaching, even too. Just to go back to that too, you learn somebody you around somebody for so long, you learn, you understand how they work, and you see areas that they can improve in, and they see areas that you can improve in. Not to say, as a documentarian, you want to step in and mess with these people's lives, but you get to really learn somebody, and you can teach them. And at the same time, even just telling that story, that story can teach so many people. So I don't know. I feel like hearing, that like passion behind you. Also, I see the relation between teaching as well. Is that something that you feel as well?
Absolutely. I've made it very clear, even to Steve James, when I was sitting right next to him, like in his office hours. Like my goal here at DePaul as an MFA directing student is not to go move to LA, to Hollywood, right? It's to teach, and it's to do it like right here, as close as I can to home, as close as I can to the people that I grew up around, and you and I grew up around a similar area. I don't know if you had a film class at West, but like we didn't have nothing like that where I was at, and it's not like we weren't so disadvantaged. It's just
Absolutely.
Like it's not normal.
Exactly.
It's not normal, and it should be, because it's such a powerful medium.
And especially nowadays, anybody can make a film.
Exactly. And if we could get some iPhones into these students' hands, they could learn that.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, a lot of them don't know that.
Yeah, and I mean, shit. Even what I'm doing, I started with the journalism class at West, shooting off the iPad. I figured, hey, I have a phone that has decent camera capabilities. I can get another camera if I want to.
Exactly.
And all I have to do is go out there and shoot.
Right.
You know, the film and the story, whatever you want to call it, it comes together with what you do, not what you have. So
Absolutely.
I agree with you on that, Tim, man. It's important to get all this stuff into the students' hands because film is a huge translator thing.
For sure. In addition to that, I'm very grateful to be at the school where, like, this will cost me thousands of dollars, right?
Absolutely.
All the equipment that you don't see behind Marcus right now, there'll be hundreds of thousands, and like the cameras we work with, like everything is like top notch, you know what I mean? At least compared to what I'm used to.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? What I've been able to afford through eBay purchases, you know what I mean? Like that's how we work as artists, right?
Absolutely.
To be able to be afforded something like this for no additional cost. I say additional cost because people here are paying tuition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, I have like a fellowship from the state of Illinois that this really is free right now.
Absolutely.
So like, thank God for DePaul, thank God for Illinois. Like we're able to make this happen for this artist tomorrow for free because of that. And that's an unbeatable feeling.